Hello, everybody. I'm so excited today to have with us Libby Hoffman, who is a human design expert and the owner of Modern Homemaker, where you can make your soul at home. Thank you, Libby, for hopping on with me today.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Candy. I'm excited to be here and to share and just chat.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so to get us started today, we are going to pull an oracle card from this beautiful mystical wisdom deck. So you tell me when I should
Okay,
pull, okay?
I'm gonna feel into it.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay.
All right, so the card for us is Self-Reliance. Can you see it okay, Sarah?
Yes. Pretty
Self-Reliance. I love these cards. Don't be
beautiful.
afraid to fly solo. And here it goes. You have the courage and fortitude to lovingly assert yourself and your point of view. By doing so, you gain respect and support from your friends, family, and colleagues. It takes boldness and integrity to stand up for yourself and be counted, especially when no one else is supporting you. Trust yourself and value your own opinions and judgment. Flying solo is a challenge that takes courage and confidence. This is your road to freedom. Become lion-hearted and know that your best protection is your own spine. Mantra, if it is to be, it is up to me. William H. Johnson.
Wow, how appropriate is that with what we just talked about
I can't.
before we started recording? That is so cool.
It's uncanny how it works out. It really is. So, Libby, just share a little bit about your background and what brought you to become the owner of Modern Homemaker today.
Yeah, so I was introduced to human design back in like the holiday season of 2018. So it's been almost 3 years now that I've been experimenting with myself and my family. That's where I started. And then I integrated into my work and my business. Modern Homemaker is, like you said, it's about making your soul at home on this planet. um, and that's really my focus, is to empower mainly women, but I work with everyone. But I do a lot of work with mothers and people who identify as mothers. And my goal is really to provide inspired and practical tools, because I think that is how we can sustain the awakening, is having those embodiment tools and really embodying the knowledge, not just consuming the knowledge, but embodying it, so that we can thrive and nurture ourselves and the next generation.
So, when you were introduced to human design, what was your initial response?
I remember the first time that I saw my body graph and I was like, what is this? I have a pretty open chart, but I saw all the numbers and like the shapes and the lines, and I was just like, I don't even know where to begin.
Mhm.
But then I just started taking like little pieces, and I dove into my type first. I'm a projector with emotional authority. I'm a 2/4 emotional authority projector. And once I dove into just those foundational pieces, I felt so validated and it all just made sense. And I think that that is what you have to do, because human design is so deep and layered so richly. But if you just start with those foundations, that is when the world really opens up for you. And yeah, just going back to that validation, I just felt so seen and recognized. And as a projector, that is super important right off the bat. And just a lot of feelings and really wisdom and knowledge that I've felt my entire life. I finally felt like I had the language to speak about energetics and to speak about what I had felt about myself and other people my entire life.
I
Yeah.
love that. It's about the language. It gives you a framework to start to dissect or even process some of the experiences that we've had in our lives. I know when I saw mine too, when I started talking about it, I felt like I actually had permission to step into myself. Like I had permission to just be me, that this was my actual design and it was okay to, be a little bit different from the rest of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you start to see why, oh, well, this didn't work for me because I wasn't meant to use I wasn't meant to use that strategy, or like, like we are given this body that's created just for us, and human design is just that blueprint that helps you know how to use that body in alignment with your soul that has been put here. So
I love that. So, like, basically, you are as a human design expert and within Modern Homemaker, you're really helping souls awaken. You're helping people awaken to their calling and their purpose and just understanding how to navigate their journey on this planet. And so, you alluded to this before, but kind of as that agent of awakening that you are, what is one of your biggest goals?
yeah, so I think for me, one of my biggest goals is just to help women, and honestly myself, because all of my work that I do, I embody for myself as well, is to feel at home here in my body, and to just enjoy simply being in life. And I think that is where the joy comes from, is not just in the magical, but in the mundane. And that is what really life is all about for me, is being able to claim that joy and claim the abundance in every moment and hold the good and the bad. That's the beauty of life.
Yeah, it's like finding presence across all of those moments and learning. Like everything is an opportunity to learn a little bit more.
Yeah, and feeling like you belong here, because there have been several moments in my life when, before I found human design, when I didn't feel like I had a place. Like I felt, and I know a lot of people in the spiritual that consider themselves an empath or spiritual, um, they go through the same thing where they feel like they don't belong, like they don't feel like they're at home.
Mhm.
And I just really believe that if we are here on this planet, then we are home, and we have that opportunity to claim that for ourselves. And it's always available for us to do.
So what are some of those kind of before you knew about human design, or maybe even in the beginning stages, what are some of those kind of 3D struggles that you personally encountered? Like what did you face that you had to overcome on your journey?
Yeah, I know one of the big ones for me as a child was the energy. So, my parents are both generator types. And so they have that consistent sacral energy to work and to keep going. And I don't. And I remember um, like having to get up super early because they worked at different points. One worked night shift and one worked a day shift, so there was a lot of like hustling back and forth here and there to like daycare and then school and then like after school. So it was always like that go go go, that hustle mode kind of. And I always just felt like I was like forcing myself into that hustle mode. And now, knowing that I'm a projector, I realize that that is not the best way for myself. I need to embrace that inconsistency. That's really my way, is to be inconsistent, to really be on when I'm on, but then when I need a break and rest and play, then to honor that as well. And that makes me more potent, more efficient, more powerful. And so as a child, not having that language that we talked about is hard because, society forces us to fit in and go along with the flow of society and all of that. So yeah, I think giving this knowledge and the tools to see those different strategies for people and their children is really important because they can set their children up from day one with the correct strategies for them, with the correct energetic, um, tools and permission, like you said, to be themselves and not have to be homogenized into what everyone else is doing.
I really love that. And while you were talking, it was making me remember too. I remember getting up as a child, getting up very early to, for school, hustling, whatever needed to get done, go to the babysitter, and feeling almost ill if I got up too
Mhm.
early. This like
Exhausted.
exhausted
Yeah.
to the point of like feeling dizzy and sick, and living in a household where you did it. This was the expectation. We go, we hustle, we move, we get things done, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing. It's what it was. But at that point, feeling like I'm bad, or I'm not helping
Mhm.
by being exhausted, or
Yeah.
by being not feeling well, I'm contributing to something bad, as opposed to acknowledging, no, this is just me. I
Mhm.
just need a little bit more time. And how do we work with that?
Yeah, and feeling worthy of that rest. I
Right.
meant to say that as I was talking actually because that came up. Like as a child, you don't realize, like you said, you feel like something's wrong with you. Like, well, you don't need rest. Like, why do you need rest? Why do you need to sleep a little later? Why do you need to go to bed earlier? Like, um, yeah, that comparison really can steal our joy, honestly.
And for those of you who are listening, I'm a 1-3 reflector. So I'm fully open centered. And so in Libby, you're 2-4 projector. So we definitely know what it's like to have those open centers.
Yeah.
So once you came into human design, excuse me, you came into human design, how did you start to make others aware of what your needs are?
Yeah, so I remember when I first started really trying to recognize as soon as I needed that break.
Mhm.
It was really hard to set that boundary for myself
Deprogram.
and yeah, and to make myself physically stop and take a break. And whether that was just taking a nap, just sitting down for a few minutes instead of trying to stand up and do. Um, just taking that step to pause was super important because then that makes it easier and easier to honor that boundary. Um, and I needed a lot more rest in the beginning when I first started embodying my design because I was catching up from all of that exhaustion and having to push through and perpetuate that unsustainable cycle of continuing to force. So there was some nervous system, work that I had to do as well to really hold the exhaustion and hold that space for myself to rest and not listen to you need to get up, you need to do this, you need to do that, the to-do list, the unworthiness coming through. But then once I started honoring that, then I realized that I didn't have to take like a 2-hour nap. It could just, I now I can just do like a 10-minute meditation or, a 30-minute to 45-minute nap. And I feel so much more refreshed and rejuvenated because I honor those inconsistent cycles more and I take that break and rest before I'm exhausted instead of waiting until I'm completely exhausted because that is that unsustainable cycle where you get exhausted and then it takes so much time to recuperate from that.
Mhm. Mhm. And isn't it interesting? Because I've experienced this too. Once you start to really shift and put the boundaries around what your actual needs are, it's almost as if, like you said, when you're on, then you're on. You can be so much more productive when you have that downtime or away time just to recharge. Um, yeah, I really think it's an incredible realization once you start to dial into that and be fully present for what you need yourself. That makes you a better person, a better mom, better wife, better
Yeah.
human, better sister. All
Yeah. I describe alignment as like a pendulum or like a path, like a fish swimming. So when you first start experimenting, you might feel like you're way over here in misalignment, and then you have to bounce back into alignment. But once you start getting that rhythm for yourself and you're able to pivot quicker, you recognize when you're in misalignment, then it just becomes, more of this fluid movement. So you're not like
right.
doing this all the time, that it's more just like a tick tock, and it's that aligned rhythm for yourself.
I love that. I love that. So, was there, now we've talked about this a little bit before. So, to the extent that you want to share, has there ever been a point where you've hit a wall? And for me, that wall was all of a sudden I'm having a back surgery and I'm forced to stop and actually pay attention to what my body needs. So, as you have become more familiar with your design, has there been a point where you're like just forced into stillness, forced to rest, where you've acknowledged that, okay, this is now, I understand what I need fully?
Yeah, so I actually would go back to um, when my first child was born, because I didn't have human design then. But as soon as I started learning about human design, that whole postpartum journey really was put in a whole new light and perspective for me. And um, so I definitely hit that wall in postpartum, my first postpartum especially, because I was very spiritually connected and connected to my body um, during pregnancy. And then as soon as my baby was born, I I thought there was going to be like this even more elevated, like if I'm feeling this kind of like nirvana while I'm pregnant, like what is it going to be like when the baby's actually born? Like it's going to be amazing. And it was the complete opposite of that when my baby was born, because in human design we have the design of pregnancy, and there's actually this quantum of energy that's formed between the mother and the baby. It's like a relational energy. And so when the baby's born and separated from the mother physically out of the womb, then there's like a death in that energy that was formed. And so that whole transition time is so, especially for myself, and I know for many thousands of other women who face postpartum depression and other illnesses, um, there you have to have that support and that awareness to journey through that transition. So that is really when I hit that wall, because I felt I wasn't clear with my boundaries, like you're saying. I didn't really know my energetic needs. And I had for so long, because of the way I was brought up, also, I had relied on my mental and emotional caretaking, and I had never physically cared for another person like I had to with with a baby.
Mhm.
And so because my emotional and mental nurturing were already like so stretched, then you add that physical nurturing on that, and you hit that wall. So yeah, just once I found human design, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is what I had needed, is to have that awareness, the knowledge, and the tools and support to be able to take care of my own needs, my child's needs. If I would have known his design as soon as he was born, there could have been so much more healthier behaviors and strategies. He's a man, both of my children are manifesting generators, so they're super busy. And yeah, I remember like when he was like 6 months or so, I would try to force naps with him, and that just did not work. So then that wasted my time, it wasted his time. He wasn't happy, he wasn't being able to use his energy. I was wasting my energy trying to get him to rest. And so yeah, I definitely that was a that was kind of like this pivotal moment in my life that I recognized all of those things, but I just didn't, again, have the language yet. So, and luckily I was able to probably like that 6 month mark, I just had kind of had enough. And I was like, okay, like I need to start becoming again that person I was before this transition and really put in some more boundaries, ask my partner for more help, like seek out, connect again to myself spiritually, not put it off, not, all those things. So,
Yeah, as gosh, as we're talking, I just think back to when my first child was born. She had some significant health issues and there was very limited sleep. And I remember working through that to a breaking point. Trying to handle it because I wanted to be able to be the one to handle it. And the way that our household was set up was that I was the one to handle that at nighttime, and moving forward, trying to make sure it was all good and okay, and she was good, and the household was good, but sacrificing myself I was the expense along the way. So going under a state of exhaustion and not being able to replenish my own energy to an absolute breaking point was what my experience was. And I haven't really thought about it in terms of human design before. So I'm thankful that we're talking about this and it's having me remember those,
good.
and how
Yeah.
we can help out like so much more now with the people who come after us and help
Mhm.
them on this journey.
Yeah. And that's really how I felt was just, I felt like I was just in survival mode,
Yeah.
just like surviving. Like you said, that exhaustion, like for us, it's even more so than for people that have a defined sacral. Um, and even like having to be with another person so close, we need that space to release that energy that we're taking in from other people and the environment. Um, I forgot where I was going with this, but yeah, just being in that survival mode. And what I've come to realize and see the opportunity for with integrating and embodying human design is that it doesn't have to be just survival. It can be thriving. We can set ourselves up and prepare ourselves for thriving and have the tools and knowledge to be able to recognize um, the incorrect things and pivot quickly so that we can get back into thriving instead of just throwing our hands up and acting like, well, this is how it is.
I'm thinking back to just like the self-reliance card and the definition of how, using your spine to protect yourself. And it's almost like taking a stand and saying, no, this is what I need in order to be the best mom possible. This is what I need.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's why I created my Crown of Light program. So I have a whole program that
Perfect.
is specifically for new mothers, and this could be repeat mothers. It doesn't have to be your first child. It's also adoptive mothers, any caretaker that is going to be caretaking or in the process of caretaking for a new child. Because with human design, as long as we know your birth time, we can see your blueprint, your energetic blueprint. So yeah, that's just for postpartum transition. Fourth trimester is what I like to call it. Um, yeah, that's one of my like labor of love kind of passion projects that I offer.
That's so beautiful. So like your transition from starting to recognize these different things about yourself, your energies, and then transitioning into discovering human design, being able to provide a framework around it to have a better interpretation of your own life and your family's lives. And now you're really sharing that with others. And so tell us a little bit about Modern Homemaker and how that was born and some of the great things that you're doing in that space.
Sure. So Modern Homemaker, I really I started with that idea of, making yourself feel at home in your body on this planet. And I immediately thought of that term, homemaker. And the more I thought about it, it was like it feels almost like an antiquated term, right? Because we think homemaker, we think of like the 1950s housewife or like the stay-at-home mom. And I just kept thinking about it. And I'm like, it's not, it's actually a gender neutral term. Like anybody can be a homemaker. And that is where, just you make a home for your soul with every breath you take, no matter who you are, what you have, what you don't have. If you're, no matter what your gender, what career you're in, whether you are a mom or a dad or don't have children or not, you are caretaking every day for your home, which is your body
Yes.
and your soul and your
Yes.
mind. So it's about this holistic view of homemaking.
So with that in mind, like what's been your proudest moment in your business world so far with Modern Homemaker?
Probably I would say the work that I've done in my Nurture by Nature program, because the feedback that I've gotten from the women that have journeyed through that program is exactly my intention with my work, is feeling at home in their body, feeling like they have a place in this world, and recognizing their own gifts. And then it's amazing to see the work that I do with people translate for them in their own lives, and how they are able to step into themselves and their power and affect the people around them and their own businesses, their own families. And yeah, it's really cool to be able to empower people. And that's really my goal. I want to empower women so that they really don't need me after they've, journeyed through one of my programs. But yeah, we do that really deeply in Nurture by Nature. And I really enjoy seeing the fruits of the work that the women do.
Love that. I love that. Okay, so I want to ask this question based on your experiences and your expertise that you have in human design and the programs that you run within Modern Homemaker. What is one simple shift that you could recommend for anyone who's listening to choose in their life that will create more joy?
I would have to say surrender, just surrendering. First of all, knowing who you are, just knowing, like that could be one little piece of yourself, just your type, just your, like, it doesn't even have to be human design. It could be knowing, what your favorite thing it is to eat for breakfast. Like it could be something so simple, but something that is unique to you or that makes you who you are, and really surrendering to that, embracing it. And like we've talked about, having the self-confidence and the healthy ego to make that a priority for ourselves, and allow anything, let go of anything that competes with that, or that puts pressure on us to not embrace that. So that's where the surrender comes in, like letting go of those ideals that maybe we've had our whole life. Like, well, you shouldn't really like to eat, peanut butter crackers for breakfast. Like maybe other people, that's just, a silly example. But like, if that is what if that's a part of you and that gives you joy, then do it. Like, who cares what the rest of America eats for breakfast, or who cares that other people don't take a 30-minute nap every day? Like, does it really matter in the big picture? And it brings you joy and it helps you live an authentic life. So just embrace that and surrender and let everything else go.
I love that so much. And my word for 2021 is surrender. So
Oh, awesome.
all right. So a little bit of a surprise question. Ready?
Okay.
If we are watching the movie of your life, who is playing you? Which actress is playing you?
Does it have to be someone living?
It can be whoever you want.
I love Audrey Hepburn.
Yes, perfect.
And she's a short hair girl. She was a short hair girl like me. And I've always loved her. And actually, I'm probably going to write a post or something about this, but I've been thinking about her a lot and just how she really embraces that duality of life. I mean, I really think that she was a style icon, but she was also like not that typical American beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And she shows us that you can be funny and smart, and you can be, she did so much goodwill ambassador work, especially in her later years. She gave a lot of herself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want to be remembered for is, living authentically, but and helping others and showing the beauty of duality, embracing that in my own life. So
Perfect. Perfect. So thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today. It's always such a treat to talk with you. Where can people find you and learn more about Modern Homemaker?
Well, thank you so much. I love chatting with you too. I'm so glad that we connected. It was kind of a random little connection through Facebook, but yeah, I'm so glad, and the feeling is mutual. So people can find me. I'm on Instagram, Libby Hoffman, and Facebook as well, The Modern Homemaker. My website, all of my offerings and things like that are on my website, which is modernhomemaker.com. And modern has an E on the end, so it's the French European spelling. And then we have the Facebook group, a private Facebook group where I offer a lot of free events and offerings and collaborative experiences to embody your human design and other modalities. I work with astrology as well a little bit. So yeah, you can come play in the Facebook group, join the movement at modernhomemaker.com, and check out any of my offerings there as well.
Perfect. Perfect. And then as just a kind of a final reminder, we'll hold this up for self-reliance and to know yourself, know thyself, and be true to you.
Yeah.
So awesome. Thank you
Beautiful.
so much. It's so good chatting with you.
Thank you too. Love and lights, everyone.